Hello everybody, Skippy Dota here, showing off my new build which is called the Flaming Poet. It is a dual-wield Poet's Pen Chieftain, full Fizz to Fire conversion using the Chieftain Ascendancy with Avatar of Fire. Just kind of wanted to show you guys kind of my version of the build that I thought up with like a Poet's Pen. I love these items. It reminds me of the old days of Cast on Crit. But it comes with a lot of other benefits that Cast on Crit didn't have, with just the versatility of what you can do with it. And kind of just wanted to share with you guys my thoughts. Anyhow, so just want to show you, this is like a tier 12, I believe, Shore from Zana. Just absolutely destroy the boss. The single target damage on this build is quite fantastic. The clear speed is really good, and it's just overall a really fun build to play. It's extremely tanky, and it's like a great leveling experience too, because the Poet's Pens, you get them very early on, and they're super fun. I'm gonna hop out of this map real quick and just kind of, after I showed you guys a little bit of the play style of the build, just talk about the gear real quick. Poet's Pens, dual wielding them. In one of them, I have, this is my single target setup. I have Control Destruction and Elemental Focus linked with Ethereal Knives, level 21. Very cheap this league, by the way. And then in the other Poet's Pen, I have a Bladefall linked with Conk Effect and Control Destruction. We are a non-crit Elemental Overload build, base build. Um, so which frees up, this is amazing for the Poet's Pens because it gives us two more multipliers we can add into our sockets of our Poet's Pens, and then also the Poet's Pens give us +1 level of socketed gems per 25 player levels, and after 75 you get +3 from the pen itself, so that equals out to what, a level 24 Ethereal Knives and 24 Bladefall. So a lot of base damage off of those that we get to scale from. Our helmet is just a standard helmet, like you can use anything here. I chose an Elder base because I wanted both the physical damage to spells. It's not a ton extra damage because the base damage on EK and Bladefall is already extremely high, so this flat added, it's not a ton, but every little bit helps. And then the Conk effect, I actually have no skill gems in here that are really affected by Conk effect, but that like matter. But the 20% increased area damage is a nice buff to everything within our build. And then again, life and resistance always strong. A Bladefall enchant would be preferred. I haven't got one yet, but obviously a uber loud Bladefall enchant would be great. Our gloves and our boots are just life, resist that we fill out, and then also dexterity, very important, high rolls of dexterity. Accuracy is also good on gloves, and on boots, movement speed. 25 is good, 30 is great, 20 is okay. I leap slam or body swap around, so I'm not walking that much, but when I do, it's nice to have that extra little buff of speed. Your belt, a rustic sash is great. Life and resist as much as you can afford. A +1 to endurance charge would also be good. It would net slightly less damage, but it would make you slightly more tanky. It's up to you if you want to spend the money to get that. For our chest piece, I went with a carcass jack. You could definitely go belly the beast for more life. Be even tankier. You could easily get probably like 6,500 to probably almost 6,700 if you threw a belly of the beast on this. I'm at 60, almost 63 right now, which is more than enough to me. I could define this up and hit 63 easily if I wanted to. And here I have barrage, faster attacks, additional accuracy. We want our barrage to hit, even though it doesn't have to hit to cast our spells with the Poet's Pens. We want it to hit because we have our life gain on hit support gem here, which is just a nice little bit of sustain. 52 life gain for each enemy hit per barrage, and I think barrage is firing 4 projectiles, so that's 200 life per hit, and we're attacking 4 times a second. So it's just a good amount of sustain. Obviously, it's not like Val Pact era of sustain, but it's really good. And then we have a curse on hit with flammability to further reduce the fire resistance of our enemies. In this ring, it is very important. We have a one unset ring with a +2 level socketed gems, and in here we have a level 21 purity of fire to give us that extra 1% fire maximum fire resistance to be able to run righteous fire. And on your rings, accuracy, life, resist as you need them, some dex to help fill out wherever you need it. This is a essence crafted opal ring that gains us 10% physical damage as extra fire damage. That's a 10% more multiplier. And then importantly, like also very important to the build, is our marble amulet, which gives us the life regen that we need Um, for running Righteous Fire, because we're not using Rise of the Phoenix, we have to stack quite a bit of life regen to get this build to run Righteous Fire very comfortably, which was a very important part when I was originally designing the build. Is I didn't want to struggle to run Righteous Fire, or like have to like run between packs and kill things quickly because, oh no, I don't want to degen down too much. So, or have to like rely on flash to keep it up. Um, so life, I don't need this dexterity on here actually at the moment. I could take this off and be fine without it. So ultimately, I want to get a Elder amulets, marble amulets, and then craft on the 20 or roll the 20% more or 20% of physical damage as extra fire damage. That would give us another 20% more damage on our amulet, which would be amazing. But you could swap out like put spell damage on here, or whatever. I just crafted this real quick, threw it on there because I needed the dex at the time. So you could definitely get an upgrade here. And then last but not least, I have my weapon swap. I have another set of Poet's Pens, which is the Unearthed Body Swap for moving around. It actually does quite a bit of damage too, because it's all based on physical and fire damage, which is what we do. And then I have my Blade Fall, Spell Cascade, Control Destruction for my clear. So you can kind of move around pretty fast. It definitely helps when you have bodies out there, but as you can see in the hideout, it still is pretty fast. And does a huge amount of clear. And for most things up into tier 15 maps, I'd say you're blowing through trash mobs and even yellows. In our helmet, we have Enduring Cry to keep up our endurance charges and give us a little bit of boost of health regen. We have a Blood Rage linked with Arcane Surge to give us that nice Arcane Surge buff every time we pop our Blood Rage. And then we have Increased Duration to increase both the duration of our Enduring Cry life regen and our Arcane Surge. In our gloves, we have cast when damage taken, ball lightning, blind support for little defenses, and our summon stone golem, which is really great to sustain righteous fire, and also the stone golem has a chance to blind. And then in our boots, we have Herald of Ash, Arctic armor, and righteous fire. Herald of Ash is great now that it works with spells, and then Arctic armor is great because of the synergies with our character and how physical and fire damage works with us. It doesn't actually affect righteous fire at all, but it will affect the type of damage that we'll be taking. So looking at the passive tree real quick. Oh, by the way, I also have a weapon swap that you can do rather than having another set of Poet's Pens, because these can get expensive. You just do a Bright Beak and a Prismatic Eclipse, and you can just leap slam around super fast because we stack actually a decent amount of attack speed. And then with that, with Blood Rage and our when we have full frenzy charges, we are hitting right just under the 4 attacks per second mark, which is exactly what we want because of the internal cooldown of the Poet's Pen. So that's actually really great. So we're reaching that without ever needing a silver flask. So it's pretty great. Looking at the passive tree real quick, I'll talk about the Ascendancy. Namahu's Flame advance, the 50% physical damage converted to fire. We pair that with Avatar Fire, so we're getting full Fizz to Fire conversion. We do no other damage other than fire damage. We get 10% of fire pen on here, and also every 10 seconds for 3 seconds we gain 70% of our physical damage as extra fire damage. So for 3 seconds we have a 70% more damage multiplier on our things. Now I wish GGG would add some sort of visual effect to our character or on the buff bar to know when this is active. You can see it when you're fighting a boss. Suddenly the boss will just chunk really, really hard, and that's when you know that that buff is hit. But I would also like more of a way for me to control when I know that that buff is active. We get Fire Leech and increased strength, and also the chance to cover an ash. Really great for sustain and actually doing extra damage. Forest Strength allows us to run Righteous Fire because of the 0.5 maximum life regenerate per endurance charge, and we also have 0.2, so a total of 0.7 per endurance charge is amazing. And we also get fire damage per endurance charge, and then here we get more life regen, and the 100% to fire resistance just makes gearing ridiculously easy because we don't need fire resistance on almost anything. So definitely a super strong like synergy with all these ascendancy nodes that makes us really tanky and do a lot of damage. And then we also have, in the passive tree, we just take life and life regen as much as we can. Jewel sockets are a great source of damage with spell damage. A little bit of attack speed is always great for getting that reaching that cap. and then we just take our endurance charges, any kind of accuracy, life, fire damage, kind of more notable nodes that I would say. The Pass Tree Elemental Overload is great. We crit just enough to keep this up all the time, and that's a 40% more damage. And yeah, other than that, I would highly recommend getting at least one jewel with a +2 to mana gained on hit, because it definitely we have enough mana regen to sustain while mapping, but when it comes to actual boss killing, when you it helps to have that +2, so you could just keep spamming your barrage. That's the nice thing about Poet's Pens, though, is you can just go to a default attack even, and you'll still cast. So no mana regen, no mana leech, any of those kind of maps you could still run, because you're obviously a lot slower, but you could still run them because you're still doing the damage. It doesn't actually require a specific skill to use. Anyhow, other than that, I can't really think of anything else. Pantheon points, we just take this minor soul for the fizz damage reduction, as well as the life regen while stationary, and we take this to take the reduced damage over time, which helps mitigate the righteous fire damage. You can take the stun immunity or either of these two, but I haven't found them to be necessary, and I just really like having Righteous Fire never take up, like never be that hard to run. So as you can see in the base while we're standing still, without any flash popped, just from the one Ascendancy or the one Pantheon here, and our natural built-in regen, we can run Righteous Fire without burning. While we move, we take what, 100 damage every 5 seconds, 7 seconds, something like that. That's nothing. That's without any endurance charges or a flask popped. We pop our sulfur flask, obviously, you know, or not, sorry, our ruby flask, and nothing. Our sulfur flask the same way. So extremely tanky, extremely high damage, extremely fun build to play, because you get Righteous Fire, which looks so great, and you just like the only map mods you cannot run are Ellie Reflect, and the other things, obviously a minus maximum resistance or like a 60% reduced to or less like health regen maps. You really can't run Righteous Fire on those, but you can still run Blood Rage and do plenty of damage. Anything else though, you're free to go. No leech, no regen. You could still run them. Again, they're a no leech and a no regen would be pretty tough, but you could do it. You'd just be slower, and you'd have to rely on your flask to get your life back. But definitely doable. But I wouldn't advise it. But you can. Anyhow, hope you guys enjoy the build and have as much fun as me. I'm always open to suggestions on ways to improve. I'd love to do even more damage or try to eke out a little bit more life out of this build. But it can do all content. It's extremely fun to level with. Up to you get the pens at level 12. From then on, it's just absolute a joy to level with this character. So hope you enjoy, and let me know what you think in the comments below.